This is the Best or Worst Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
All righty. Welcome to the emergency pod because of all the crazy shit that's happening in the world. Excuse my language, but
you have every right, dude.
The
to
world
cuss right now.
Yeah, the world is what it is. So we're obviously talking about there's a lot of incidents that are going on now, but I think the week started with the Monday, the Central Park lady and that whole shit.
Yes.
And then
Amy Cooper.
Yeah, or Karen, as I like to call her.
The Karen. Yeah, she's
Central Park Karen.
Bramble Park Karen.
There you go.
And that shit was crazy, dude. I mean, what is wrong with people?
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, as a black man raising a black child, you know, here's the thing. I try not to post too much on Facebook. And usually I don't, unless it's like funny stuff, but you know, because of the work that I do, you know, Instagram and Facebook are very big platforms for me from the nature of my work. And so I tend to sort of sway over and see what's going on with everybody else. And then sometimes I get caught up. And I've backed off a lot from posting the way I used to, like constantly. But with this kind of stuff, it enrages me so much because it's like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I mean, you'd think that they've learned from, like, you know, Barbecue Karen in wherever she was and all these other people. You know, and this lady just like goes straight off on this guy. He's threatening my dog, threatening me, and he's like, "Yo, are you serious?"
Yeah, that was I mean, it wasn't even that she threatened him. She like calls and says I'm gonna tell African American.
Yeah,
It's like fuck. You know, I mean, that was. And
I'm like, that's shit that gets you killed.
Yeah.
And you know what I hate more is like a day later when they realize what they've done and they want to apologize. Take that apology, and I'll tell this to whoever listens to my podcast. If you ever do that kind of shit, when it comes back and apologize, I'll tell you right now. Take that apology, find yourself a sandbox, get a hammer, and pound all that sand straight up your fucking ass. Because that's bullshit. It's bullshit. I don't give a fuck who it is.
Well,
if you say shit like that, and then you want to, I'm not having it. I don't care.
Well, I'm not going to defend her, but I am going to say that I don't think she understands or
she
knows.
Does.
No, she does
she
not.
Does.
She does not. I know so many of her. No. People, they have no idea. Like, these are the same. I mean, I swear to God, these are the same people that are like, there's no race, there's no differences between everybody. Everybody's equal.
You'll never get me to believe that.
No,
never.
With
my 54 years of experience as a black man in this country, You'll never get me to believe that.
I think I'm not saying she believes it. I'm saying she thinks it.
No,
so when
go ahead.
So I'm saying I'm not arguing that she's not weaponizing her words, because she is, but I think that in her head, she doesn't understand or see how that's wrong, even though it is, right? Even though it is, I think she thinks that it's like, there's nothing wrong with what she said. And then, but you and I know that, like I was even telling my son, I was showing my son the video, and I'm like, when she says,
the video,
of course I show all the
that one.
No, I showed him the killing too, because I thought it was important for him to see. Because I said, hey, this is what America is. This is what America is and what it's always been. And you know, like I went on another podcast recently, and I think that, you know, the biggest problem with America, and it continues to always be a big problem with America, is that we've never reconciled what we did to African Americans, and second of all, how much our country was benefited by the backs of slaves. Yeah. And until we have a true reckoning between what we did and what happened, this shit's always going to happen.
Yeah,
that's why it's
no, you're right. Here's the thing. She knew that saying that an African American, what she said when she told that guy that, hey, I'm going to call the police and tell them that an African American man is bothering me. She knew what she expected to happen there was for him to back off and know his place. That's what she wanted to have happen. And that being said, she knew that when she called the cops and said there's an African American man harassing me, she knew that they were going to come out and something was going to go down. She knew that. There's no other reason for her to say that. She knew that.
I think she's just so I think there's a lot of people who, no, there's so many. I mean, because she's quote a liberal, and the liberals are in a lot of ways. There's like I've sat on panels with liberals who told me
I'm sorry, they're the worst.
Who told me in my face that that like they don't teach race to their kids, and I'm like, well, you have the privilege to do so. It's like
no, exactly. No,
well, and that's why when they call, like when they do things like that, they're not thinking like we are, because they don't understand, like they don't, it's like the code words. They don't understand the code words. Like if I explain to like Donald Trump people about MAGA and how bullshit that is, and they're like, that's not what we mean. I'm like, but that's what you really mean. Like you really mean like it, like the country, when the country was white, right? When it was white supremacy, exactly. Like that's what you mean. But in their heads, if you ask them, they're like, no, that's not like. It's like the fucking Tea Party. Remember the Tea Party shit? When they were saying that like that wasn't about like white supremacy. I'm like, clearly it's about white supremacy, but you're just pretending that it's not because you're fucking racist, but you just don't want to admit that. That's the same kind of bullshit. Like they don't have to think about it, Martin. See, because we come from a perspective of having to think about it, but they don't have to think about it.
No, I get that. See, the difference is if we had someone that was not of color on the show, they can have this discussion with us about this, give us their opinion, and they can walk out of this interview and never, ever, if they wanted to, ever have to think about it again.
No, of course.
Whereas you and I have to go outside. This is sewn into our DNA.
Yeah.
It lives and breathes us. And what bothers me also about this whole thing is these people out there who are like, let's wait and see what comes out about the video and see what really happened. Those kind of people drive me crazy. Yeah. Or the ones that are also saying, oh, look at them. They're destroying their neighborhood. They're destroying the shops in their neighborhood. Fuck you. You know what? Those stores in their neighborhood, they don't own those stores. The people that own those stores, they don't hire people in that community. They hire people from outside the community to come in and work those shops because those shop owners are scared that the people, if they hire people from that neighborhood to work there, that they're going to give shit away for free. Yeah. When those people in that community go into those stores to buy food, they're not looking at their brothers and sisters working in that store. They're looking at strangers from outside of that area who drive in to work in that store in that neighborhood that don't know them, so that store owner can keep his money the way he wants to be kept. Yeah, so when people say, look, they're destroying their own stores that they own, they don't own anything in that neighborhood. Yeah. And the stores that are owned by people in that neighborhood are left untouched. Yeah. That's something no one ever wants to talk about.
Well, also, like, when the uncomfortable truth about the 92 LA riots was that after 92, a ton of money came into the South LA area. Like a ton of money, a ton of support. All of a sudden, like people gave a fuck about the poor people of color communities that lived in South LA. And I was like, well, maybe it took a riot to fucking wake people up from all this shit, But like, I mean, so moving on. The other thing that was obviously like the other thing that happened was the murder by 4 police officers in Minnesota. And I just want to say on the record that the fucking cop who is Asian is fucking the worst motherfucker.
Dude, I was looking at that dude and I was thinking about you, like, dude. That dude's horrible, man.
First of all, like I have always said, like, I thought Asian police officers are the worst. Of all the people I've ever dealt with, or all the cops that I had problems with, I've always had most problems with Asians because they want to prove something shit to me. Yeah, and I don't know why, but the go back to like my son and showing him the video. Like I show my son the video because I tell him, this is what America is. This is what we have to go in with our eyes open. And, we're not African American, obviously, but like in a lot of ways, like we have to be careful, just like in a different way. We're given
not as careful as I have to be.
No, of course. No, I'm not. It's obviously it's not a competition, but I'm just saying that it's.
No, you're right.
It's just something that we have to, as anybody of color, we have to be worried. We have to be careful, it's not just police. It's the community. It's like running down the street in Georgia. It's, because like in Georgia, like I was in fear of my life in a lot of places, whether it's black people, African-American or white people, like, cause they're like, are you fucking from here? And like, they're like talking to me like ching chong shit. And I'm like, oh, God, cause I'm the only Asian person they've ever seen probably. And that's fine, but it's like, what bothers me is like, this is my country, like this is my country that we're like, dude. But anyway, that I just want to say that fucking guy is like, I'm glad he got fired, and
they all did. I mean, and you know what? I'll tell you right now. If it's going to be a dog and pony show. These guys are going to get arrested. They're going to get charged with these crimes. For me, the bottom line is going to be the outcome. If that asshole does not go to prison, they're going to scorch that city, dude. they are going to scorch that city, because as bad as Rodney King was with that blurry camera, this everything about this video was heartbreaking, because it wasn't like spur of the moment. It wasn't like these guys were all, we're all jacked up and it was like, 2 or 3 seconds to make a decision. This was over 300 seconds. It was 8 minutes of this guy on the ground calling for his mom.
Yeah.
His mother, dude. It was heartbreaking. And you watched him piss himself. And this guy's sitting there with his hands in his pocket, putting his foot on that guy's neck, his carotid artery, and just looking at like he was playing cards or playing poker. It made me physically sick just to watch it. I mean, it broke my heart. I've only watched it one time. I can't watch it again. And I'm not going to let my kid see it. There's no way I would let him see it, because he does not need to see that. He doesn't. He's going to have plenty of opportunities to have that shit pushed in his face. He doesn't need to see it. And, they're going to scorch that city. They really are. It's crazy, because on all 4 of those guys should be in trouble. All 4 of them.
They all got fired, so I think they're all good.
Yeah, that's okay. But they're going to, the thing about it is guys that get fired and they go work for another precinct somewhere else.
No, I don't think that these guys will go work for another precinct.
Yeah. Look at Mark Furman. Mark Furman got hired somewhere else.
Yeah, I think this is
glad as a private detective.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a different kind of case.
I hope so. That's what I'm thinking. Because I think with the climate in the country right now, if these guys don't get convicted, it is not going to be a good scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this, this is not surprising. This is just a modern day lynching of what it used to be. I mean, I've me and my son, I've also shown lynching pictures to my son to show him what it was like before. And
you're going hard on that kid, man.
No, because it's important. He needs to know that. He needs to know what it is.
I want to go ahead.
Oh, so like when they teach bullshit at school, that he needs to know what the bullshit is and call the teacher on the bullshit. That it wasn't like, there's so many, can I go on a rant a little bit? 2-second rant.
Yeah, go for it. Are you kidding me? Go for it.
Like my biggest thing about teaching my son is there's so many myths around America, and that I think that it's time that we all start to have an honest conversation with America about things like, for example, one of the myths they teach in school is, America was this like empty country, where that nobody was there except, the inconvenient fact was that America was the most culturally diverse place in the entire world before Columbus arrived, or Native or African Americans as slaves, or whatever other group of people of color, or anybody, right? But it's really important that we stop this mythology. And one of the things that I love America more than most people, and I think we've had this conversation, but it's like we have to love America for what it is and what it could be, and not this fake mythology around what America we pretend America to be. And this is just another example of this, that we could kill young African American men, right? Sometimes even women, but we could kill African Americans over the biggest bullshit. What was that shooter? He walked away, one of the big shooters. He's a white dude, and he had an AR or something, and he got arrested after one of their shootings.
You mean Dylan Roof, or
was it Dylan? Yeah, one of those. And they even took him to get food and shit.
Yeah, in Alabama, he went to that church and killed 9 people, and then they arrested him, and he's like, I'm hungry. Oh, let's take you to Burger King.
Yeah.
The fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. They took him to Burger King. He killed 9 people, got arrested safely with no incident. The other guy killed 29 people, got arrested with no incident. Eric Garner selling cigarettes, and this guy forged a check, and they're both dead.
Yeah.
Hey, like Ice Cube said, in America's Most Wanted back in the early 90s.
America's Most Wanted.
Yo, that song, that album resonated with me. I still love it. But what he said: to serve, protect, and break a nigga's neck. Yeah. Every time something like this happens, I always say to serve, protect, and break a nigga's neck.
Yeah.
People are like, oh no, that's not true. I'm like, this is exactly what happened. The great thing about this is Colin Kaepernick kneeling. And I posted this on my page. I said,
I saw that.
It's so poignant right now, and there are still people out there who are, I don't think that's correct. I'm like, are you serious? There are people who just bury their head so far deep into the sand they refuse to acknowledge what is happening.
Yeah. Well,
and they want to make an excuse for it. Colin Kaepernick tells you to your face, I am kneeling to demonstrate against police brutality. That's what he says. And they're like, no, he's not. He's kneeling against the flag. No, dumbass. Listen to what he said. He's kneeling to protest police brutality. Picture of David Chauvin with his full weight on that kid on George Floyd's neck, and the picture next to it is Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and this is why. No, you're misinterpreting it. It's disgusting, dude. I'm at the point now where people are like, it's like I wanted to stop saying stuff about it, but people have it said, why are you getting so upset about it? Because they're not that stupid. But yeah. I rail against this particular issue because of my kid. I want to make this world, if I can help somehow make this world just a little bit safer for him.
Yeah.
Growing up, then I've done my job.
Yeah, it's not going to.
Because the only Desmond Tutu said it the best. Those who want to stay neutral and stay silent, they're helping the oppressor. That's all they're doing. They're helping the oppressor.
But I think this is exactly what the president wanted. This is exactly the type of stuff that's happening. I mean, he is, especially as he's losing the election, he wants more divisions. I mean, that's why all this Asian shit is happening. I mean, there's like hate crimes against Asian people almost every day now.
Yeah.
Like they're even attacking nurses and doctors who are Asian, and there's a lot of us. And so it's like, like this is what he wants, is he wants these kind of really big cultural divisions to really separate. And to be honest with you, like, over the course of the last like couple of years, I've just been, we had the Revolution podcast, but like, I just feel like there's two different countries now. And I can't reconcile that anymore. That there's like that, I used to feel like the people from a different state they're not like me anymore. And I just, I feel like almost like, dude, you're just you have a totally different worldview than like everything I believe in, and like the same people that watch that video that tell me that like he deserved it, or let's wait for the facts and shit. I'm like,
have people told you he deserved it?
Yeah, like that, like he must have been doing something bad. I mean, see, that's another.
Yeah, those people. Yeah, you're right. Those people, I have no use for.
Yeah,
and my friends know me like this. You come at me, if you come, I shouldn't say friends, people who are my acquaintances that would ever come at me saying, "Well, let's hear all the facts." I'm like, you know what? We're not hanging out anymore.
Yeah,
and I say this too. And I said this. I'll say it again. I know who's being silent. I know who's not saying a word. And you know what? I'm not saying a word to them. They are self disassociating themselves from me, and I'm totally fine with that. They may not, and I don't care if they realize it or not, but yeah, I have definitely made some moves in my life over the last few years, and I see even more of that coming out now. Because your silence is deafening to me. I've had a lot of friends of me, reach out to me like, "Hey, Martin, I'm so sorry this is happening," and not because it happened to me, but because I kind of went on a small tiny rant about this whole thing, and I was like, okay, I need to pull back. And people who I didn't expect were like, "No, dude, I totally understand why you're saying this." I've had some of my white friends say, "Hey, Martin, I feel the anger that you're feeling, but I've had people say to me, you have no right to get angry about this." And I tell those people, you know what? Don't listen to those idiots. There's an undercurrent too of black folk who are like, you as a white person have no reason to be upset about this. And I'm like, are you stupid? It's a humanity thing. Yes, it's a black. It's a black. It's a black and white thing with regards to the cops and these people being killed. But if someone who is not of color wants to show their outrage about this, that's a normal response. Their response to seeing something like that happen is a normal response. And for you as a person of color to say they have no right to feel that way is dumb.
Yeah. But I think the point also though is that they enjoy so much, privilege. That's why I wasn't defending, but the Karen from the park, she, in a lot of ways, I don't think that they see it that way. They don't understand that like there's like a lot of privilege that you could walk around everywhere and feel like you belong. Right, like that's a big difference.
Because they don't have to understand.
They never have to. I mean, that's why they freak out when they go to another country where all of a sudden they're a minority, and that's why they don't. That's why Americans don't travel, because they don't want to feel like, well, why doesn't everyone speak English in Japan? Like, fuck you.
They don't travel outside of Europe. They don't travel outside of Europe, Australia,
Canada,
certain parts of Latin America. They don't travel to Africa.
No, they don't. I mean, they don't want to go to Asia because it's weird and there's all these weird people. But that's I remember I had a discussion with an expat from Japan, or a visitor from Japan once, and I was in Japan, and he was like, I just feel weird. I'm like, dude, that's what like every day feels like with me in America. Like, you know, where like like I look different and like I'm not accepted and I can clearly stand out, you know, and I'm counting people of color in this room, you know, in my class.
Yeah.
I'm counting, you know, like it's like, well, it is, you know, and I think the difference, you know, that you know, when I talk to my son about it too, when you know, the big difference is that like obviously like I would never say, oh, white people are bad. I could hold a thought in my head that there are good white people and there are bad white people, like, you know, and there's like just like there are good Asian people and there are bad Asian people, like that cop, or you know, there's like good and bad of every race. And I'm not going to say like anything about an entire race of people, but they're just, you know, and I think that there are Caucasian people who don't understand the privilege they have. Right. Like, you know, and we all have struggles and we have different kinds of struggles, right. And different things, you know, like, like, and it affects everybody in different ways, obviously, you know, and that's the problem with America is that America is, you know, it's not class like England, but it's always been about race, right. It's always been a drop here and there is, you know, but
it's been a horrible thing, dude. It's just like, hold on, I'm going to move again real quickly. I'm just going to get my phone here and bring it back. I was trying to get some light. Hold on a second. You know what I'm looking for. I don't know what happened. Doesn't matter. But this is still good to talk about because it's a hot one. And I'm so just going to say something real quick, guys. You know, we kind of tuned in. This is sort of an impromptu, but you are listening to the Best or Worst podcast. You're watching us. And this is Koji and I talking about what's going on today in America. Not so much with Amy Cooper and her idiocy in Bramble Park in New York City, but really about the horrific incident that happened in Minneapolis. And, I've told people, and I'll say this again, I was around for Rodney King. I grew up with Stephen Biko being murdered in South Africa. And so, I grew up during apartheid times. And so this is something that's very, very personal for me.
Yeah.
So we're talking about this incident. I've seen a lot of this, I've seen a lot of brutality on TV with the police.
Yeah.
But this one for me was just, the fact that there were people around this guy saying, hey, you're killing him, you're killing me, I'm calling out for his mom. And his face was literally like, he had a blank look on his face. And the fact that he had his hands in his pocket. So the only thing supporting him was George Floyd's neck. That being the only thing. And then the other fucking cop is watching it, and they're taunting him as he's dying. Like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have been fighting. You're resisting arrest. And it turns out he never was resisting arrest. This was felony murder, caught on camera, And then what really bugged me was then after he had clearly died, and they're putting him onto the stretcher, and they're cradling his head, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. You're cradling his head. The dude is already dead. You had no problem with his head when you're stepping on his neck. Then he's cradling his head as he's putting him on the stretcher. Like, is this some kind of joke? They called it the medical incident. There's gonna be a lot of heads rolling over this one. Same thing with Ahmaud Arbery. And the one thing I will say about this is that this just makes the Ahmaud Arbery case even stronger, because these are two cases that happened within a few months of each other. And it's not about someone going down for this. Justice has to be served in both these cases, because the Ahmaud Arbery case, if that one doesn't turn out the way it should turn out, they're gonna scorch that city too. And especially with this one, it's like too much. This is too much. You'd think these idiot cops would know after what happened with Eric Garner, saying he couldn't breathe. Bakari Sellers was on CNN talking about this and saying he had just put away his Eric Garner shirt, saying I can't breathe, and he's pulling it out again.
Yeah.
And anybody that says that I'm being dramatic about this, you just don't know. You don't know. You don't know what it's like to be in a situation. You don't know what it's like to look at something like that and thinking that it could be your family. And then there are assholes out there like, oh look, I know. So I've seen a lot of white people die or whatever. That's not the point here. Like you said, it's not a competition. And anybody who doesn't understand the difference in the gravity of what happened, there's no point in having a conversation with someone like that, because they'll never get it.
But this is, to me, this is part of the it's intentional about what we're doing, because we're intentionally creating these really deep divisions racially. I hate to keep bringing up Asians being attacked, but we're like a week ago, grandma was kicked in the face by 3 teens. you know, for being Asian. Like, and it's like, that's like every day. Like,
where was this? Where was this?
That was in New York. I think in Brooklyn, and like it's happening like every day, but like nobody talks about it because we're in a world where like, oh yeah, they deserve it. It's a Chinese virus, you know. It's like you know, and I think we're just creating these really, really deep divisions against people, and we're sowing this. And the more Trump loses, or the more the polls are, you know, like I think it's going to get worse and worse and worse, you know. And even like I live in the city of South Pasadena, which is pretty diverse and pretty liberal, but like, you know, even here, I feel like it's gonna get to a point where,
yeah,
you know, we are gonna like there are people who are gonna say stupid shit to each other about, you know, like about race and stuff, and you know, and the funny thing though that I would like to say about Asians being attacked is that, you know, it doesn't make the news right now, right? It's like,
no, it doesn't. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. It should, because it's ridiculous, you know.
Anybody who's getting, you know, attacked because of their race should be, right. I mean, especially if it's like the police. And by the way, let me also mention that my biggest issue has always been with, because I know I get a lot of criticism for how much I hate the police, but my thing about the police has always been, if it was about truth and justice, they would rat on each other in a court case.
Of course, yeah, they would.
They would want to tell the truth, right?
Yeah,
not defending their fucking buddy. Like they would tell the truth on the stand, but if they're not willing to stand, you know, if they're not willing to tell the truth on the stand to protect their, you know, fellow officers, then as far as I'm concerned, that's a gang. They're just they just have a bigger, you know, they have the government behind them. So,
exactly.
You know, that's the only difference. And frankly, like, you know, if this case in Minnesota nothing would have happened if nobody videotaped it, right?
Yeah.
Just like in North Carolina, right? If there wasn't no videotape, nobody cared, nothing. Like it was just justified. Georgia. Sorry, Georgia.
Yeah,
justified murder until all of a sudden we saw it, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's totally not justified," right? Like,
yeah, that was horrible, dude. And they weren't even cops; just random dudes just got in the back of their pickup truck.
Well, it's like George Martin, right? I mean, same shit.
Yeah,
you know, but it's like, how different would George Martin case be if we saw it?
Trayvon Martin.
No, yeah, sorry, Trayvon Martin. Sorry, I'm all over the place.
George Zimmerman.
Yeah, George Zimmerman.
I have a question. How has that motherfucker not gotten his ass beat? You know, I knew so many people who were like, you know what, I bet George Zimmerman, you know, patrol my neighborhood, you know, before the whole thing went to the trial. I'm like, really, you would? Yeah, I had no problem with him patrolling my neighborhood. And now it's like, whoops, maybe I wouldn't, because it turns out he was a fucking asshole. You know, he is an asshole. I don't know how that guy's still walking around, dude.
He'll get
without a limp.
He'll get his comeuppance at some point.
It always comes
around.
You know, I tell you, I don't know how people can do that, because, you know, it's, if anything ever happened to my kid, dude, I just think, you know, I'm gonna end up in jail. There's no way I'd let it slide. That's just me. There's no way I'd let it slide. Yeah. There's just no way. I fuck being the bigger person. There's no way. If you hurt my son for something in that situation, there's no way. I don't care how the fuck that sounds. There's no way, because there's no justice anymore. There's no justice anymore.
Yeah.
You know, let the legal system.
Has there ever been justice?
No. People are like, let the legal system work. Really? When has it ever worked? You know. You know, I had someone once tell me that they truly believe that no one has ever been put to death wrongfully.
Wow.
And my jaw just dropped. And I remember George Stinney.
Which case is that?
George Stinney was the youngest person ever executed in America. He was 14 years old. He was a little black kid. He was tiny, 14 years old in, it might have been Georgia. No, I think it was Mississippi. He was accused of killing 2 little white girls. And the poor kid, they didn't let his family see him. They executed him back in 1941 or 42. 14 years old. There's actually pictures of him. The helmet couldn't even fit his head. They had to like jimmy rig it so it fit on him. And the poor kid was crying. Then of course, like I think it was like 10 or 15 years later, obviously the truth came out that there was someone in the girl's family that had killed him. And then 70 years later, there was some kind of reparations paid to the family. But yeah, George, 14-year-old kid, they put to death, you know? And it's like, you know, anybody who thinks that no one has been put to death wrongfully, I have no time for people like that.
I don't know anybody.
I have no time for people like that. That kind of fucking stupidity just blows my mind. I have no time for people like that anymore. I just don't. You were gonna sit here and tell me that no one has ever been put to death wrongly? It's like, first of all, the stats just don't play out.
Yeah.
How many people have been let out of prison because of DNA? before DNA was invented, you know. And the sad thing about it is, you know, all these states, they want to bear this up under the rug because they don't want to pay the money out for wrongful convictions and wrongful deaths.
Although DNA can't be wrong. This idea that DNA is like 100% is a little bit.
No, I'm not saying that. But what they can do with DNA is they can prove that you didn't do it. It's highly likely that you did not do it.
Well,
you know?
I mean, they can prove that it wasn't you, that whatever sample they got wasn't you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But they can't prove that you didn't do it by not having a sample.
Yeah, but I mean, other things brought into the picture, you know.
No, of course. I mean, but that's always the biggest issue with juries is that they're waiting for the DNA that will tell exactly who did it. But it's like that's never the case. Most of the cases are like super, not there's usually never direct evidence, or else if there is, usually they just plead guilty. It's over real quick. But it's been it's been a crazy. I mean, I do think that this is just going to be the new normal for a while. You know, I've already resigned myself that this is the way it's going to be till November of this time.
Yeah.
And then we're going to see, like, I mean, it's gonna get crazy. I think that you know, I don't know if there's going to be police killing people all the time on videotape, but you know, I think there's going to be a lot of like divisions that are going to start happening. And I think it's going to be
people are going to start drawing the line in the sand. You know, it's.
And as an Asian, you know, I think that one of the things it's going to start getting a lot worse for Asians, because I think China is it's already becoming the most powerful country in the world. And I think as the American empire falls, it's going to even more so, we're going to blame Asian people, you know. And by the way, any Asians who's like, I'm not Chinese, that's fucking bullshit. I can't believe they would say such things. But you know, it's like,
but what if they aren't Chinese?
It doesn't matter. You know, it's like, I mean, like it's like, yeah, I know, but like, it's like, it reminds me, I think I've already told you the story, but it's always like, I remember I was at Starbucks and this dude was like saying racist shit about Korean people. And I was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's okay, you're Japanese, right? I'm like, it doesn't make me feel better that you're being racist to another group of people. You know, like it's like, even with this like case in Minnesota, it's like it doesn't make me feel better that it's not Asian people. It's like, no, this is still bullshit. And I'm still angry, and it's still like, you know, it's still bullshit. And
when you saw that Asian dude as a cop, you're like, oh man, this motherfucker right here.
No, I mean, I hate Asian cops even more than other cops, so it just solidifies.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because a former colleague of mine, co-worker of mine, was stopped in Covina, you know, and harassed by an Asian cop. He's actually let go, but he's like, Asian. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. And then a girl that I dated a while ago, you know, she was married to an Asian dude who was a cop, and she said he was the worst cop ever. And she told me, and this is like, you know, 15 years ago, she told me this. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah. She goes, let me tell you, the Asian cops are the worst. So to hear you say it again is really funny, because she was like, yeah, they have a bone to pick. They have an axe to grind big time.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, and they don't see the privilege and you know, there's a lot of Asians who don't understand that even though there are some positives of being Asian, it's you know, it's not all roses. You know, it's it's crazy. I had a fraternity brother of mine who that's a whole other story. Who was he didn't come from a military family. I think his mom might have been white, but he ended up, I think he works at the Department of Defense now, but he was a typical military guy, and he and I did not get along. He you know, granted, I'm sure I was a piece of work too, but he and I did not get along at all. He had an axe to grind with me for some unknown reason. And he was one of those guys who's like, if this guy became a cop, I'm like, yeah. It was crazy. Yeah. And you know, it's funny because I ended up when I was doing Shaolin, I ended up working out with a guy who another Asian kid he was actually half Asian as well, who grew up with him, was a few years younger, and I was telling him about it, and he goes, yeah, he's pretty racist, dude. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. I said, yeah, he's in my fraternity. He goes, oh, bro, I know he hates that. And I was like, he hates me because he's Asian. He goes, doesn't matter, dude. He goes, we're the worst. I just remember, he even said that. Yeah.
Well, he goes, watch out for that dude. He's the worst. I was like, wow. So,
you know, I think that there's always an element of Asians who are racist to Black people, right? But there's also an element of African Americans who are racist to Asian people, right?
I've seen that too, and I
I think last week it came out that the new Black Panther Party was protesting in front of Chinese restaurants in New York City, which is bullshit.
Really?
Yeah, because they're like all the Chinese virus shit and eating dogs and shit.
So
it's like
stupid.
to me, it's like, to me, it's like we're on the same fucking team, you know.
Yeah,
and
we are.
And what they want is to separate us and to make like, you know, make you guys think that you guys being African Americans hate Asians because of whatever, and they want Asian Americans to feel like, you know, whatever about African Americans, and we should hate African. I was like, no, dude, it's actually the opposite. We're like on the same team. Like that's why the whole like majority minority thing is like bullshit, because I don't know when the last time I've ever had ever like a coalition of Asians, Africans, Americans, and Latino people work together on anything.
Yeah. No. They always end up turning on each other.
Yeah. So we like, you know, but I think that's part of the plan, you know. I mean, not to be conspiratorial, but I think that's the plan is to keep us like separate, you know, to make us feel like we're fighting over the same shit, you know, or we're on different sides of things, you know. And I know there's a lot of like Asians who feel like they're better than other groups of people, but like, dude, push comes to shove, we're not, you know, like, you know, we're still people of color, so we're still minorities.
You know, it's so funny, you know, because, you know, my wife is Asian, and when we got together, she introduced me to that whole world of Asians who hate each other and the whole ranking system.
Yeah,
it was fucking fascinating, man. And here you talk about it too. It's
crazy. But she's also like Southeast Asian, which is also different than East Asian, right?
Oh, it sure is.
So you know, there's a whole like there's a pecking order. I mean, there's a whole reason why they created. There's a reason they created Pacific Islanders as a because I mean they weren't getting any kind of social services because we were skewing it so much. East Asians were skewing stuff so much, but to even the idea that East Asians are more wealthy or more educated, that's like, it's crazy, because if you think about it, you know, I always do the stat, but like in the 1960s, Asians made up like 4% of the population in America. Like now it's like 8%, right? In 2040, 2050, it's supposed to be 16%. That's not legal immigration, right? That's not legal immigration. So what's interesting about like the Chinese immigration right now is that you have like a ton of like super wealthy Chinese folks coming, but you also have a boatload of not like really, really poor, undocumented Chinese people coming to this country too.
Yeah.
You know, and other groups of Asians as well, but specifically Chinese. And so like, you know, there's this dichotomy that you have like these really wealthy people that get all the attention, who have like the big houses, especially here in the San Gabriel Valley, but you're going to have like a ton of people who have like zero money, zero education, zero opportunity, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, that's my rant on Asians.
that was a good rant. I thought it was very educational. You know? I thought it was very educational. What do you think is going to happen with this whole thing, Koji? What's your prediction?
I think that Minnesota is gonna. I mean, I think he's gonna get convicted. I think they're gonna get convicted. I think at least the main dude's gonna get a murder charge. I think he'll get convicted. I'm pretty sure. I think the same.
Do you think he'll spend life in prison?
Some version of that. Yeah, I think he's gonna get. I mean, this is too public and too big. I do think though that this is like the best thing that could have ever happened to Trump. I think this is exactly what Trump wants. You know, especially like the rioting and stuff too. This is what he wants. You know, he wants to be able to point and say,
dude, those riots are getting bad too.
Like, yeah, look at these black people. Look what they're doing. This is not your America. Like, you know, cops are doing their jobs. And, you know, like, and here they are like destroying their community. That works perfectly for those people. You know,
yeah, it's their call to arms,
and they want it, right? That's what they want. So that's what makes me really sad. I mean, obviously a lot of things make me sad, but that's one of the things that's like, it's like, fuck, man, we're, you know, like we're falling into this.
Can you imagine 4 more years of this asshat?
That's not gonna happen. He's done.
No, it's not. It's not. I know. Over. These are the dying throes of a good old boy, and that's what people talk about. You know, the whole idea that after Obama got elected and did his 8 years, and with Trump getting elected, it was like it was the death throes of the good old boys club. Yeah, you know, it's that last grasp for power. You know,
I mean, I don't know if I believe that, but I definitely believe that Trump is a
anomaly.
No, I mean, I think Trump is a reaction to President Obama, but I don't think it's a last throes. I mean, I just think that there's the power structure of this country is still really messed up, and I think that, you know, there's like a lot of, like, you can't call African Americans the N-word anymore, but like instead you could call the police on them and say African American is attacking me in the bushes or in the brambles in New York City, right? Like it's You know, it's like that's what doesn't surprise me about this thing is that, you know, it's just the words have changed, right? Now you could walk on the same side of the street as you know them, but you know, but it's in the first time there's a crime, guess who they're pointing at, right?
Oh yeah, that's how it works, dude. That's how it works.
So like, I mean, it hasn't changed that much, and you know, like the one consistent is like African Americans have been screwed in this country. That's like the one consistent thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know, man. It's so horrible what's going on right now. You know, before we got on, I saw that the riots were escalating. There were shootings in Denver, Colorado, and
well, here in LA, there was stuff like that, right? I mean, I don't think it was a riot, but I think there was like a lot of protesting and shit going on. You know,
and you think that these cops would learn. You think that cop would see all those cameras on him with his foot on that guy's neck and think to himself, "Oh shit, I'm fucked." You think that they would think that, But he's so, you know, this is the same guy that was on stage with Trump. You know that? Do you see that picture of him on stage with Trump?
No, I didn't see that. I saw that he was 18 infractions or something.
No, dude. There's a picture of him when Trump went to Minneapolis and they had cops for Trump. He was on stage right next to Trump.
But you saw that he had 18 infractions, right?
Yeah.
Write-ups, right?
Yeah, he killed a guy who was stabbing someone, and then he shot a Native American guy, and a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, he's an evil dude. He's just another dude. I like to see him in a back alley somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, you're not even doing good jujitsu, dude. That's all I could think. It's like,
yeah, but I'm a good striker. Come on, my Shaolin and my boxing, my kickboxing. I just can't grapple.
No, not you. I'm talking about the officer. I was like, he's terrible.
I know, right? That's right.
Well, you know, because I saw like me and my son watched a lot of YouTube videos on jiu-jitsu stuff, and you know, I did see like this officer in Las Vegas. He was fighting this really big dude who's like a foot taller and like 200 pounds heavier.
Whoa!
He was able to like because you could tell the officer knew jiu-jitsu. And he was always in control of this situation. Like, and so like, you know, even the Gracie guys or the Gracie brothers were breaking it down. And they were saying like, yeah, this is what happens this is one of the reasons why cops shoot people, because they lose control of the situation so quickly. And all of a sudden the first thing they do is pull out the gun and fucking fire it. Whereas like this guy who's like clearly like not as big or as strong as this guy. And this guy, I think he was on drugs, but he was out of control. He was always on top and mount. He was always able to stay there. All he had to do is take out his stun gun and stun him until like the backup came and they arrested this guy. But like, it just, it just goes to show that like a lot of these officers aren't properly, I mean, like I'll give some credit to officers. Okay. One of my problems is they're just not properly trained. Right.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you this right now. I love law enforcement officers. Every encounter I've had for the most part,
I don't like it, by the way.
I respect them. You know, I've had them, you know, my alarm has gone off in the house. My alarm has gone off in the house. And for some reason couldn't get to the phone in time to call the police, call the the station to say everything's okay. And two cops showed up at my house, and they looked like they were 13 years old, and they were like totally respectful, like, "Hey, sorry, sir, we just the alarm, we just came to check everything okay." Hey, yeah, it's okay. And I looked at them and I was like, "How old are you guys?" And they're like, because they both were like, looked like they were 21 years old. You guys want some water? He's like, "No, sir, we're fine." It felt so bad. I was like, "Go home. Don't be a cop. What are you doing?" Another time I was at Chevron, and I'd gone into the stupid reader wasn't working, so I went in to pay. And there were these two cops. As I was leaving, there was two cops coming in, and they looked hard, dude. And I was like, "Oh shit!" Knee-jerk reaction. And so I opened the door to come out, and I held over with them. I said, "Go on in." They're like, "Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate that." And the guy tapped me on the shoulder, and I was like, "Oh." But they were super nice, and it's like I said, took my son with me to when I was going through my citizenship stuff, and sitting at the station getting some paperwork done, and the guy gave Chunk a whole bunch of stickers and like badges and like stuff, and took pictures with him. It was awesome. Oh, dude, and so I always say that it's cops like this knucklehead in Minneapolis that get good cops killed, and I think I've said it on the show before. Asshole cops never get shot because they are keen to kill monkeys. They're ready to blast on somebody. Yeah. You cannot roll up on a bad cop because they're just ready to kill everybody. And the sad thing about that is that good people, the bad guys know that. They see a cop coming to the neighborhood and you don't fuck with that dude. He knows what he's doing. And then and these bad cops go in these neighborhoods like what David Chauvin did, and they get everyone riled up. And then all the good guys go in to try and calm everything down, and someone gets hurt because of these guys.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me. Good cops get hurt because of assholes like these guys.
Can I just mention that if a cop tapped me on the shoulder, I'd be like, "Why are you touching me?" And then it go downhill. And then it's me sitting on the curb being like, "Fuck."
Dude, you could have said it to him. I wasn't. This guy was huge, man. I mean, he was like a foot taller than me, like 180 pounds of muscle bigger than me. I personally, I was like, how did he get out of that car? You know, and
I just hate cops, and I would never let one time my son got a sticker, and I made him put it back.
Oh, Koji, man.
South African police. Yeah, fuck them, dude. I don't want to like to me it's like the SS. Like I was like, I'm not putting the fucking SS. Like,
come on, you can't do that. They're not all like that.
I don't care. They're not my friends. Like,
you're nuts. You teach the cow to be like that, dude. And 30 years from now, he's gonna snap from the 7 hours of homework you make him do. He's gonna be on top of some building with a helicopter flashing around. He's gonna be in underwear with a samurai sword trying to kill somebody.
But he's also not gonna believe the bullshit that is taught at school. So the historical bullshit, I should say. I mean, some of the stuff is obviously useful, but like it's just.
What do you think that they teach in school?
I mean, basically everything they say about Native Americans is pretty much wrong.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Including like all the mission stuff they do in 4th grade, California history, right? They barely touch African American slavery issues, right? They're completely focused. The history is completely focused on Europe, even as though Europe was the only place that had any kind of value throughout history. Right? We all know that's not true. It's just, I mean, there's just, and so much of like the literature is around European literature only. I mean, I get like the English thing, I get that, but it's like, there's a lot of literature from around the world, and there's a lot of history from around the world that I think is equally valuable. That's just totally ignored, and especially like the contributions of Native Americans, African Americans is a big deal to me. And I think that, we just totally forget it. Like I said, when they imagine like, the slaves came here happily for freedom. Right. And Native Americans were like, there was nobody here. It was an empty land with a few pesky Native Americans that they slaughtered, like
pesky.
No, they were, dude, I don't know if in St. Louis, Missouri, before
you told me this.
I told you this, right? Where there was a mound culture in St. Louis that was more densely populated than London in the 12th century. That's crazy. Like, people don't think about it.
Where can I find this? I want you to send me the link.
I'll send you links to this. It's like there's just, but we don't want to talk about it because it's like, it doesn't fit our mythology. And you know what? People of color create these mythologies too, and it drives me nuts. I have this huge mythology thing that bothers me where for example, for Muslims, like if you talk to Muslims after a terrorist attack, they'll have to say things like, oh, they're not real Muslims. It's like, no, dude, they were Muslims, but they're just bad people. It's just I could put in my head extremist Christian. They're Christian, but they're terrible Christians, but I understand why Muslims have to do it, because it's it separates them. Oh, those are the bad people. We're good people. Japanese Americans had to do the same thing in World War II. Oh, those people who said they wanted to fight the government over the incarceration. Those people are bad Japanese. We're good because we fought and died in the war. But it's no, that's not that's bullshit.
Which one were you?
What? I would have fought. My family was a no family. My family was resisted everything. But I would have fought. I would definitely would have fought.
They would have thought he was a sellout, right?
Yeah, I mean, those people who said no were excommunicated from the community for a really, really long time.
I'm sure they didn't care though.
No, dude, it really hurt them. I mean, they were in prison, right? And I told you the judo story, right?
Yeah.
Did I ever say? Okay.
Wait, which story?
So there's this one of the resistors. He went to Leavenworth, right? And this is before TV, before anybody had seen judo. And so he thought because he answered the loyalty questionnaire negatively, that he's going to get his ass kicked in jail, right? That he's this spy or shit. And he was just a little guy under 5 feet or 5 feet or something like that. And so he went so the first day of prison or really early, he found the biggest dude, and he's like, come at me. And then he did a judo throw over his shoulder, and everyone's like, oh shit, who is this little dude? And then after that, he was they asked him who he was and why he's there, and he was able to explain it, and once he was able to explain the decisions he made, they were cool. Everyone's pretty much cool with it because they understood what, but it's just funny because it's he thought he's gonna get killed there, and he's a like he's from LA. He's like a little Japanese American dude. It's like, you know, I mean, but
the 1940s, obviously.
Yeah, 1940s. Yeah, like
Wow.
43 or 44 or something like that. And you know, I mean, it's just crazy. Like to me, it's like I love that story because it's like, yeah, if the first time I saw judo or karate or something, I'd be like, whoa, what is this? Right? Like, but now it's like, I mean, now we see it on TV or people are flying around and shit. But back then it was like, it'd be like,
wow, that's crazy.
Like, crazy Asian dude, big martial arts.
Wow. All right, dude. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Well, it was a great special episode. Impromptu episode. So thanks for you know, and anybody who gets offended, we apologize for. Well, I don't apologize. I take it all back.
I don't apologize either, dude. no one's gonna say anything. I mean, you know, for anybody, no one's gonna say anything.
Yeah. So you know, these are our personal opinions on everything. You know, and
the only person who say something is, you know, God, if my dad heard me talking on here, he'd be like, you know, Martin, why are you cussing so much? Then I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad. And, you know, but you know, I tend to get pretty heated up with this kind of, you know, on this topic. So
no, me too. Yeah, I mean,
Dad, if you listen to this, Dad, I'm sorry, but you know, or my cousins who are very, you know, they're good people. They're all good people, you know.
I did see the rapper comment on one of your, I think it was somebody from you related to you. Somebody saying that like, don't let him listen to gangster rap. And I was going to respond to that. Oh, that's your brother. I was going to respond to that because, you know, but I was like, nah, fine. I don't want to.
You know, he was actually saying that. He was actually saying mind blown, like in a good way. Like you're gonna blow his mind if this is a gangster rap. That's what he was saying. Because I thought the same thing too. I was like, what the hell, man? He's like, no. If he listens to the gangster, it's gonna blow his mind. He's gonna, you know.
Like in a good way. Oh, got it.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah. So I felt bad. I got to give my brother a little credit, man. I've been way too hard on him because he's really conservative, and you know, and I'm not like him in that way, you know, for the most part, and so. Yeah, I tend to be, you know, the wife's always saying, you need to be nicer to your brother. And I'm like, I am. She goes, no, you're not. You're really mean. So, you know, dude, if you're listening to this, I love you, man. You know, I'm trying to be better. and we're going to have a whole episode where I'm going to have to school you on the fact that, like, Rakim is dope, but, like, Pac is, like, obviously the best rapper of all time. I mean, by far. It's not even close, dude. You can't school me. I don't even know. I mean, maybe because you're old and you're, like, you know, you grew up in a time when Rakim was hot, but like, you know, that's, dude, there's nobody like Pac, man. I'm sorry. That's because you're biased, dude. That's because you're biased. Let me tell you something. Look at lists of like greatest rappers of all time. Pac is always like one, maybe two, depending on if you like Biggie or more. But same thing with Rakim. No, he's always in the top 5, but he's never above Pac. Like that's my guy. I was even doing research on it right after I saw your post, and I was like, of course you did. I was like, no, like I mean, he's in the top 5, top 10. It's like Kobe, he's in the top 10, but dude, he's not. It's not Jordan, guy. Not Jordan, man. Rakim was my guy. Oh man, this one's gonna power down on me, really? Come on. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast. This is like I said, this is Rakim was the best. Is the best. He's not dead yet. Oh my god. Rakim was the best. Nah, dude. Rakim was fake. We should do a whole like best or worst hip hop app. We should do a best or worst hip hop. Should. Right. I gotta find. Hey, if any of you guys out there who consider yourselves hip hop aficionados, besides Koji, hit us up and we'll have you on the show to talk about this because this is a debate that could go on forever. I've had this fight with everybody, dude, about Rakim and Tupac. Well, because you're wrong. I mean, that's maybe the fact that everybody's correcting you is the sign that you're wrong. No, a lot of them are agreeing with me. A lot of people. That's just like when Trump says, I hear from a lot of people, like people are always telling me how great of a person I am. How great of I'm the greatest. I hear from everybody that I'm the greatest president in history. Like that's what you're saying. I hear from a lot of people that Rakim's the best over Tupac. Like everyone's telling me this. It's like the same shit. Are you hearing the same voices as Trump? You could not wait. You could not wait to say that. Whatever, dude. Whatever. I'm making my mission now to school to your kid on how good Rakim is behind your back. No, I mean when you do. He's listening to Rakim. I'm gonna keep whispering in his ear. Hey, no, dude, it's the best. Biggest mistake I ever made. I'm telling everybody always is I didn't name him Tupac. I should have named him Tupac. What the fuck was I doing, dude? If I could go back in time, I would like that's a deal breaker.
That's like a deal breaker right there. I should have like right when we started dating, be like, "Are you okay with naming our son Tupac? If you're not, then we can't. This can't be like whatever this is. It's not going to work. This is like a deal breaker. You know, I don't care how beautiful you are.
Still do it.
I don't know. I think my wife would have a problem with that. You know, me getting somebody else pregnant might be a bad. You know, might not work out well. But yeah, that was like, oh man, if I could go back in time.
You really love Tupac, huh?
I do, man. I like. Dude.
Can you listen to him every day?
Yeah, I think I do. I watch videos. I still watch. Yeah, I listen to him every day. I watch like YouTube videos all the time with him. I'm like constantly like. Anyway, okay. Well, great. Thank you guys for listening. Sorry about the rant on rap at the end of there, but
no, that was all good.
You know, like it's just really. I just it's important to educate people who are incorrect and don't really know the facts.
And,
so that's
and real quickly, guys, if you wanna, you know, this is pertinent too. So Ice Cube's album America's Most Wanted, there's one song there that talks about what happened today. And this is 30 years ago. He talked about this. You know, this is a great line. One last thing I'm going to say. There's a quote from that line. It's said in the form of like a news report, and the quote goes like this. It goes, "There's a new species that's been added to the endangered species list. You know, it's the newest and the oldest species." It goes, "Yes, young Black teenagers are considered to be the oldest and the newest species added to the list." And then he goes on to say, "As of now, the government has not taken steps to preserve the Blacks. And when asked why, a top law official adds, because they make good game." Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And this is 1991 or 92, dude. That came out. That was said. And back then, people lost their minds because of that. And it's so true today.
Well, also, you know, like let's quote "fuck the police," right? Yeah. NWA. I mean, that was like from the underground. That was super controversial at the time. But it's like, no, dude.
I still watch that scene after they got picked up. After they got up off the ground, went back into the studio to start recording, and they recorded that song. Oh man, it was like,
so from the movie?
Okay,
from the actual movie.
Yeah, from the movie.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, that line. All right, dude.
Cool. All right, guys. It was good to talk to everybody. It's good to hear. Good to get this off our chests. All right, take care, guys.
Crazy.
Bye.
Later. Bye.